my name is Belinda Doveston. Welcome to the I Ching Cafe and our weekly overview for the week commencing the 5th of October 2020. Right, so a recap of last week. Last week we had a people week asking us to pay attention to the fellowship, our community, being part of a community, and of course getting us reconnected to family, being part of the family and our responsibilities to the family and what home, the hearth, the center of our life really means. And of course, family can mean a whole lot of different things for you. Not all of us have strong blood family. A lot of us grow into other types of families that are there to support us. So let's have a look at this week now. I always promise you that no matter what we get in the flows of change, I'm going to find a way to be really direct and honest with you as to what we're being asked to do, but also to really highlight the fact that no matter what comes up, yes, you can hear ominous tones playing, that the I Ching gives us a way out. There's always a way to work with the flows of change. And if we don't have these ways out, these ways of working with change in a masterly way, we can get very frustrated, very locked down, very confused with where we should be putting our time and energy. This week is a challenge. Let's just call it that, okay? If we are wanting to push ahead and make massive change and massive progress this week, we are going to come a cropper. So let's have a look at what this is all about. Our first flow of change, our first hexagram for this week is hexagram 39, obstruction, also called limping, signifying an injury. Now, with this hexagram, we have had this many times before on the channel, is all about a big boulder in our path. And there we are merrily going about a path, and we come across this giant boulder that blocks our way. And of course, you get to this boulder and you think, well, the only way to deal with this is I have to smite this obstacle, right? I have to smash myself against it. It's effort and sweat that's going to move this obstacle. And this particular hexagram says, you have an injury. We have an injury as we approach this obstacle, and no amount of pushing or shoving is going to get it out the way. That is not how we solve this obstacle. We find other ways around the obstacle. We elicit the friends and our community around us, maybe from last week, our fellowship, to come and join us to help us find ways around the obstacle, not just bashing forward over and over against it without learning anything new. So this week, we are going to come across the obstruction, the thing that comes on our path that says, no further shall you go, okay, until we figure out a different way of dealing with this particular issue. It's going to be frustrating. So let's just call it that. It's going to be frustrating. It's going to be something that really stops your progress. It can be a very serious thing. It can be perhaps an injury or an illness or something happening. Hopefully not for you, or it could be really something mundane, like you've got a deadline and your computer hard drive crashes, and like it's just, the frustration that goes with it. Okay, so when those things come up, and if they do for you, just remember my words and say there's always a way out. The thing with obstruction that's really important is it's not about the boulder. The boulder in the path, the block, the rock, whatever is in our path, is not the issue. It's the way we're thinking about the boulder, the way we're thinking about the obstruction. That is the issue. So when you face an obstruction, your challenge is to say, how can I think differently about this obstruction? How is my mental state contributing to the fact that I actually see a boulder? And is it all in my mind, or can I think differently around what this thing is all about? So we have 3 changing lines this week. Yes, high action. Okay. What's interesting about these changing lines is they're all in the bottom of the hexagram, then the bottom trigram, all 3 lines. So the bottom trigram are all 3 changing lines. That's where they're sitting. And I've spoken to you before that sometimes we can look at the structure of a hexagram and say the bottom 3 lines, the bottom trigram, is the inner, the internal process is happening, us, our own process. And the top 3 lines, the outer trigram, is the external world, the outer. So these 3 changing lines are all sitting internally. And I think that part of really breaking through this week and really learning a lot this week is going to come through thinking differently, our mental process around the obstructions we face, the bottom 3 lines, because all the change points are happening internally. So let's have a look at these changing lines. The first one says, pushing forward and being reckless and just no matter what, I'm going to push, push, push is really going to hurt you. What you have to do is wait, pull back, and the frustrations will disappear of their own. So when you come across this one, if you're trying to push, push, push and bash your way through this boulder, the way of doing it is saying, wait, pull back, wait for a better time, the frustration will ease of its own. The second changing line says, you're probably feeling like, why is this all so complicated? You know, you've got to do this to do that, and that to that, and that, and depending on that, and racing across town to do that. So the second changing line says, why is it all so complicated? Just feeling just, oh, it's so hard to get this right, whatever this week is asking us to do. And part of this process is actually, we do have to get it right. We do have to apply ourselves. We can't just, you know, disappear into the Himalayas and contemplate our navel. We actually have to confront this obstacle. We have to do something about it. It's how we go about doing it that is the question. So when you feel that thing of, oh, it's so complicated, just take a moment, regroup, and say, I do need to tackle this issue. I do need to solve this problem or this challenge. Let me think differently around it. Let me work my way around the problem and find a different way to it. And then our third changing line, third one in the third position, is very similar in meaning to the first line. And it says, don't chase after what you want. Okay, just take a back seat. It will come to you. Okay, the solution is coming. Just be patient. The frustrations will end. The obstacle will end. It's okay. Just be patient. Okay, so 3 changing lines, all inside, all asking us for personal development. Now, our outcome hexagram is hexagram 60, limitation. That's why I warned you when we started that we have obstruction, limitation. It's going to be an interesting week where we are really being asked to think inside the box. Now, when we're innovating, we think of this idea of thinking outside the box, thinking outside the constraints. This hexagram 60 limitation is about actually thinking inside the box. We have a box, which are the limits that we need to pay attention to, and we then need to stick within the lines, paint within the lines. You can see that we have water on top of a lake, which is about the lake being overfull, being at like, you know, the dam at 99% capacity. And so if we do too much, the water can disappear over the edge and we can have a flood. So with this hexagram, we're being asked to contain, limit, structure, and break things up into manageable little pieces. This is the hexagram that helps us mitigate the risk of overwhelm. When we're feeling overwhelmed with something, the best way is to make a list, break it down into pieces, build a little model as to how you're going to solve the problem. And this is what this hexagram is really about. It's about taking a book and dividing a book up into chapters, taking a piece of music and dividing it up into intervals, taking a structure, building it up into pace timing, creating boxes and lines and structures and metered sprints to get to the end result. So for you, for this week, perhaps this is in your business or in your personal life, this process of structure and breaking things up into small pieces and limiting those pieces, limiting the process is going to be extremely useful. So on that note, work with this week, work with this flow of change. We'll get through it. There's always a way out. Remember, when you feel frustrated and you feel blocked and obstructed and limited, it's okay. This week will end and the next week will come and we'll go into a new flow of change. But for now, we mastered this one. We master obstruction, we master limitation and structure, and we work with it the best way that we can. Best of luck with this week. See you on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter for our daily I Ching stories. And of course, subscribe, like, share. You know what to do. Make sure the episodes come into your app as they are ready for you. Thank you so much, and I look forward to seeing you soon.